Hi there, in this video we're going to have a look at primitive data types and operators in JavaScript. Let's get started by exploring primitive data types. For that, I'm going to create a folder named primitives and operations, within which I'm creating a file datatypes.js. JavaScript essentially is a dynamically typed language, which means we don't have to specify a variable's data type while declaring it. And there are 6 kinds of primitive data types in JavaScript, which we are going to explore one by one. Firstly, I'm listing all of them down here, starting with string, and then we have number, we have undefined, null, boolean, and symbol. Let's look at one by one here. String is nothing but a list of characters. And how do we declare string? Var channel name text up now. This is as simple as it is. And I'm going to log it channel name. And next going to number. Number in JavaScript can take any floating point number. I'm going to give var num equals 5. And I'm going to log it console.log num. And undefined, as I have mentioned in the previous videos, it's a special value in JavaScript and it's assigned to the variables that are not given value yet. So I'm going to declare a variable not assigned, and I'm not going to give any value, and by default it has undefined as its value. Let's log that. And next going to null. Null in JavaScript represents no value. Let's say var data equals null, and in console I'm gonna log data. And moving on to boolean. Boolean takes one of the two values, true or false. Let's say is user logged in, and I'm initializing that to false and logging that. Console.log is user logged in. And then moving on to symbol. Symbol is nothing but this is used to give unique values in our script. For example, var unique id equals symbol of id. Let's see what's the value it's giving. Log unique id equals unique id. To run this code, I'm gonna give relative path in our HTML file, and I'm gonna hit it with live server. This took me to the browser. Yeah, and here are our logs. Firstly, channel name is given text up now. This is our string, this is our number, this is undefined. This is because we haven't initialized that with any value. And data says null, is user logged in says false. This is our boolean, and this is our symbol. Before going ahead with operations, let's have a look at falsy and truthy values in JavaScript. For that, I'm going to create a file named falsyvalues.js. This is important to understand what are the boolean equivalents of our values. Let's say what is the boolean equivalent of an empty string, or what is the boolean equivalent of a number 5, something like that. It's important to understand this because most of the times non-boolean values can also be used in the logical operators or within the if conditions. So let's have a look at one by one. I'm going to log boolean equivalent of null, let's say, and I'm using boolean of null. This will give us boolean equivalent of null. whether it's evaluating to true or false when used in Boolean context. And I'm gonna do same with undefined. Undefined Boolean of undefined. And proceeding with empty string, what's the Boolean equivalent? Boolean equivalent of empty string. And moving on to, there's a special value in JavaScript known as NaN. This is nothing but not a number. And let's see what's the Boolean equivalent of it, NaN. And without having to mention specifically, false, the Boolean equivalent of false is false. And let's see how numbers react to in context to Boolean. I'm going to start with 0. To get Boolean equivalent of 0, I'm going to use Boolean of 0. And let me move ahead with a non-empty string. Non-empty string. And Boolean of ABCD. And let me log the Boolean equivalent of a random number 5. Yes. What do you think this would give? In JavaScript, whatever the values that I have mentioned here, these 6 values are considered as falsy values. And any other value apart from these 6 is a truthy value. Let's look at this in the execution itself. I'm going to give relative path here in a HTML file. And let me refresh here. Yes. If you see here, null is evaluating to false, same as undefined. Empty string is also evaluating to false. Not a number is also false value. False is as expected false. 0 is a falsy value. And any non-empty string is a truthy value. Any non-zero number is also a truthy value. Essentially, anything that is not a part of these list of 6 values is a truthy value. Now let's move ahead with operations. I'm going to create one more file, operations.js. Let's start with arithmetic operators. These are usually used for mathematical operations. Let me initialize 2 variables, a5, b6. And I'm gonna do all the operations here, starting with plus a plus b, and quickly let's do for minus multiplication as well, a minus b, a multiplied with b, and a divide by b. And to get the modulo of 2 numbers, we are going to use modulo. And we also have double, and we also have power operator. To get power a power b, we can use double star. And let me just run this. Yes, here a plus b is giving us 11, a minus b is giving us -1, and then it's giving us 30, and this is giving us 0.83, and a percentile b is giving us 5, and a power b is giving us 15625. Let's move ahead with assignment operators. Assignment operator looks as simple as this, where x equals 1, 2, 3. Along with this, let's look at few other shorthand assignment operators as well. Let me do x plus equals 5, and let me log this. let me directly log this, and I'm gonna comment all of this just to be more clear. And I'm gonna do x minus equals 5. This is nothing but x equals x plus 5. This is nothing but x equals x minus 5. This is just a shorthand representation for x equals x minus 5. And I'm gonna log the value. Similarly, we can do for modulo. We can do for x by 5. We can do for x star. We can do for multiplication as well. And yeah, now let's look at the results for this. Yes, first one gave us 128, which is expected, and next gave us 123, and then 3, 0.6, and then 1.2. These are nothing but simple mathematical operations. Let's move ahead with comparison operators. For this, I'm gonna initialize two variables p, q. I'm gonna initialize p with string 10 and q with number 10. We have two kinds of equal operators in JavaScript. One is double equals and second is triple equals. When I do p double equals q, this is quite different from when I do p triple equals q. What is the difference? Here this will evaluate to true, as this checks for loose equality, which means it doesn't check for data type. And when we do triple equals, it evaluates to false. This checks for strict equality. This internally checks for data types equality as well. And let's look at other common comparison. Let's look at other common comparison operators as well. P not equals q, and p not equals q. This gives us false and this gives us true. And moving on to, let's look at some greater than equal to operators. Let me compare q with 5, and similarly I'm gonna do the same with less than operator. We also have less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. Let me write them as well. Yes, this is going to evaluate to true, and this will be a false, and this will be a false, and this will be a true. Now let's look at execution for this. I'm going to comment this assignment operators out just to be clear. And yes, as we have expected, the values are true, false, false, true, true, false, false, true. This is with the comparison operators. Now let's look at logical operators. Let me start with very simple logical operation, true or false. And second one which I'm going to write is true and false. The first one will evaluate to true because at least one value in the operands is true, and the second one will evaluate to false as we have at least one false value. And let us look at one more logical operator, which is nothing but not of any value. Let me just write it as not of false. This gives us true. Now let's run this. Yeah, this gave us true, false, true, true, false, true, as we have expected. This is a very basic example with Boolean values, but when it comes to industry, when we code for very large applications, it's very common to use logical operators with non-Boolean values. And this is where our understanding of truthy values and falsy values comes into picture. Let's have a look at very simple example. Console.log. I'm going to use two truthy values here. ABCD, which is a non-empty string. This is a truthy value, and I'm going to do OR operation with another truthy value, which is number 5. And what do you think this would give? The execution starts from left to right. First, since this is an OR operator, we need at least one truthy value. And as soon as it encounters ABCD, it means the entire operation would evaluate to true because we have one truthy value. This would evaluate to ABCD. Let's look in the browser. Yeah, this gives the same. And let's experiment the same with AND. ABCD and 5. For AND, we want all the values to be true values. So once it comes across ABCD, it moves ahead and it checks for the second operand as well. Here we have 5. This is another truthy value, and here the result would be 5. Yeah. If you closely see here, in case of OR, it will always return the first truthy value in case if it exists. Otherwise, it returns the last falsy value. Let's look at the other case as well. Let's say I'm going to give falsy values here. Here I'm giving empty string along with 0, and I'm going to give false. What do you think this would result to? Firstly, let's look at the first value. This is a falsy value, and now it moves ahead, and 0 is also a falsy value here, and then it moves ahead and see another, and it encounters with another falsy value, and there are no more values left. So the execution stops here, and this would return false. This is our last falsy value. This is in case if there is at least one truthy value, it returns the first truthy value. But if we have all the falsy values, then it returns the last falsy value. And when it comes to AND operator, the last truthy value will be returned if the entire expression is evaluating to true. But in case if it's evaluating to false, the first falsy operator will be returned. Now let's look at ternary operator. This is widely used operator in the industry. This is kind of a shorthand operator to if-else conditions. Now let me initialize a variable var a is equals 18. Now let's see can vote. Let me initialize another variable with can vote, which let me initialize this to 20. Now I'm checking, I'm using a comparison operator, and I'm checking if age is greater than 18. If age is greater than or equal to 18. Now here I'm returning a string yes, and in case of falsy, in case of else condition, this is nothing but if this is true, it will go here, and if this is false, it's the value goes here. If this is true, it goes here. This s value will be considered for can vote, and if this is false, no value will be considered for the can vote. And I'm gonna log can vote here. Just to be clear, I'm commenting out logical operators for now, and it says yes because the value that we have initialized is greater than or equal to 18. Let me give 15 here, and let's see. Now it says no. This is how ternary operator works. Along with this, we also have simple operations that we usually do, which is something like a Boolean operator. Let me write it like Boolean operator. This which works similar to Boolean of a value, and as a shorthand we can write something like this: not of string. This is nothing but a non-empty string. What do you think this would give us? This gives us true. Yes, it gives the Boolean equivalent of the value that we're giving. We have seen operators so far. Now let's have a look at type of operator. As I have mentioned, JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. It internally figures out what is the data type of the value. But if we want to test, if we want to understand what is the data type of the variable that we have initialized, we can use something known as typeof. Let's see that. Var channel name equals text sapna, and let me see type of this. Type of, we can use type of channel name. This I'm expecting it to return string. Yes, it gave a string. And if I'm initializing this to a number num1 10, and if I'm using num1 here, this is giving us number. That's with the type of operator. This is with the operations part. And now let's move ahead with type coercion and type conversion. I'm going to create another file, type coercion.js. Let me rename it correctly. Type coercion.js. Yeah. Let me do a addition operation between two different kinds of variables. One is a string and one is a number. What do you think will happen? This in JavaScript will not throw an error, but in fact it internally tries to convert one data type into another. Let's see that. I'm gonna give my path here and let's move ahead with here. Yeah, here if you see, it's giving me 55. This is because JavaScript is internally trying to convert this second operand, second 5, into a string value, and then plus operator, by plus operator it's trying to concatenate these two strings. This is known as type coercion, where JavaScript internally automatically converts between types during operations. And in case if we want to do manual conversion of types, we can do it. Let me show a small example. I'm going to create a number num 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. This I have given a string and I want to make I want to get numerical equivalent of this. I can get it just by using number. Let me number of num. Yeah, this gave us number. This is, I have given it to string, and this is how I'm going to manually convert between types, and this gave me a number. This is with the type conversion part, and this is the type coercion. Just concluding, in this video we have covered a lot of ground. Firstly, we had a look at what are the primitive data types, and then we had a look at what are the falsy values, and then we have looked at arithmetic operators, assignment operators, comparison operators, logical, ternary, and at the end we had a look at type of operator as well. After that we had a look at type coercion and type conversion. Whatever we have discussed in this video, I have pushed that to GitHub, and I'm going to provide this repository's link in the description box. You can have a look. This has a very detailed notes along with the examples. Thank you, and see you in the next video.